Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And while you're at it, shoot over to the Titans of Podcasts and Wrestling fan group on Facebook, as well as shoot on to Wrestler Unstoppable, the only totally free wrestling video game available now on Facebook. Tonight we're coming to you from Zerns Farmers Market in Gilbertsville, Pennsylvania, where we're here to see Worldwide Wrestling Alliance put on a great show. It's time for our opening match. We're going to see King Blackie versus Black Piranha. We have all the stars of the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance here tonight. Alright, so we have our first match tonight. It's going to be King Blackie, one half of the Gunners, going against Prince Piranha. If you've never seen these guys wrestle, and I understand we're at a smaller promotion, but these guys really put it out there. The King Blackie and his tag team partner, Ty Reno, tag team champions in Delaware and up here for the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance. They always put on a good show, and they are tons of fun. Out in the fans, shaking hands, kissing the old ladies. I just watched them go up to this old couple right up front and giving kisses to the crowd. It's a beautiful thing. These guys are awesome. We're ready for some great action, and it should be an exciting evening. If you're new to the Pro Wrestling Podcast, I don't know that everybody who tunes into the podcast realizes when you're a diehard wrestling fan, there is so much action out there beyond World Wrestling Entertainment. These guys are out here putting it on the line every week for simply loving what they do. These guys aren't getting paid the hundreds of thousands of dollars that WWE wrestlers are getting. They're out here doing this for the love of what they do, the passion for being a wrestler. And if you could see the action that they're putting on in the ring right now, you'd really see what wrestling is all about. People who tune in on Monday nights and Tuesday nights, you get to see a great product, but you don't get to see the kind of passion these guys are putting out there. These guys don't have multi-million-dollar production budgets. These guys don't have the pyro. They don't have a lot of the music effects that we have in WWE and places like that. These guys are out here just putting matches together before they go out in front of the crowd. And, you know, as a guy who's got the privilege of being here with the company tonight, this being our first broadcast from a WWWA show, it's very exciting because you get to see how these guys interact in the locker room. You know, they're very cordial with me. They're cordial with all the fans. If you come out, I can assure you, if you are sitting ringside, you will interact with the talent. You will get to interact with the wrestlers in a very positive way. So if you get the opportunity, the second Saturday every month, the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance presents their shows from Zerns Farmers Market in Gilbertsville, Pennsylvania. If that's out of your footprint, if you're closer to the Philadelphia marketplace, I encourage you on the fourth Saturday of every month to go to the Quakertown Farmers Market, which is in Quakertown, Pennsylvania, just off of Route 309, where they do a show there as well. And again, the talent level is actually pretty spectacular. You get to see a lot of guest appearances, people who you probably remember from the past. Tito Santana is a regular, people like King Kalua, people who are popular in the Philadelphia marketplace in the independent scene. Tonight, we're going to have people like Ken Andrews, who is the Triple WA World Champion right now. We're going to see a guy named Molson, who's been on the independent scene in Pennsylvania for several years, and he does a great job. And we got a tag team here, Ty Reno and King Blackie, who are just hilarious to watch in the ring. We've got some up-and-coming young guys. We've got a guy here named Leo Sweet, who's the high-impact champion. He is poetry in motion. I can't even begin to describe how good a wrestler he is. He's one that a promotion should be looking at. If you are a fan of Ring of Honor Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, those types of places, he is the type of talent that you would love to see on one of those programs. He's very, very good in the ring, and it's something that one of those companies is missing out on. So if you get an opportunity, check out one of these shows, because there's so much more action here. None of the BS talk, and there's a few little promos here and there, but the in-ring action is very good. And you get to see a lot more in-ring action than you do going to a WWE show. These guys really wrestle. They appreciate the business and the fact that it is professional wrestling. That's like the mantra of Worldwide Wrestling Alliance, is to bring wrestling, the best independent wrestling they can, to their product, and they do a great job. This company has been around for over 35 years. It's run by a gentleman named by the name of Dino Sana, who's been putting on shows since I was a teenager and before. He's always put together a good product, so I would encourage you to check out one of these shows if you're in the Philadelphia footprint. All right, so we have King Blackie pick up the win in the opening match. We are set for our next match. Kimberly Spirits has led to the ring Mike Goldstein, who typically has been a heel, but tonight plays the role of the babyface, taking on the Prime Minister of Professional Wrestling, Wyndham James Winthrop III, who is one half of the Triple WA World Tag Team Champions, with his partner, not here tonight, Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg has been up and down the East Coast independent professional wrestling scene for years. This should be an exciting match. I have seen Mike Goldstein several times, and he does a great job. Ring technician, he is hilarious. Watching, he knows how to get crowd reaction, whether he's playing the heel or the face. Right now, getting a USA chant going. Only 2 weeks ago in Quakertown, he was the guy calling out to the fans, telling them, you're going to shout boring. You're going to hate this match. Watch this. Here comes a headlock. And he would just tell you his moves and bore the snot out of you on purpose, getting a huge crowd reaction. He is fantastic in the ring. So it'll be exciting to see who pulls this off, Mike Goldstein or Wyndham. If I'm giving you a prediction, based on everything I've seen at their shows, I'm predicting that the Prime Minister of Pro Wrestling, Wyndham James Winthrop III, is going to pick up the win, somehow defeating Mike Goldstein. Probably some outside interference from Kimberly Spirits. She tends to get involved in all of his matches. It makes for a good time. The fans love to heckle the heck out of her. I would not be surprised to see him return to his heel roots before the end of the match. If you have not already, if you are in the Gilbertsville area, check out the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance at Zerns Farmers Market every second Saturday every month and every fourth Saturday at the Quakertown Farmers Market just off of 309 in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. If you have not already, shoot over to our website at frowrestling.com. Check out the latest voting blocks in our top WWE Intercontinental Champion of All Time tournament. The Elite 8 round is live now, so you can go on there and cast your votes. You guys have done an amazing job. There are 4 matches left in the tournament. They are all fantastic matches. All dream matches, things that nobody has ever seen, so I hope you guys really enjoy this round. While we're sitting here watching this great action at Zerns Farmers Market for the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance, make sure you check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/ProWrestlingPodcast. We have Harold from St. Louis, our first Patreon member. Thank you, Harold. You're awesome. He has become such a great contributor to our show on a regular basis. He always gives us great content, things that we can look forward to and discuss, and I really appreciate everything he does for us. So thank you, Harold. You are awesome. And I want to get to, he actually sent me some questions this week. First of all, he wanted to talk about Bayley. He noticed that on Raw this week, the reaction from the crowd was not exactly what WWE typically would want for their star babyface. And he was asking whether or not this was a signal that she should take some time and be demoted down to NXT. I don't think that's where they're going with it. I think they have purposely set Bayley up in the position that she's in because it makes her a better heel if they flip her. I firmly believe that Bayley will cost Sasha Banks either the Women's Championship in Raw at SummerSlam or her opportunity at the title on Raw when she faces Nia Jax. I think that this has nothing to do with the demotion or the lack of fan reaction to her current character. I think they've booked her this way on purpose so that they can capitalize on it when they flip her heel. In addition, Harold, you had another great question. He spoke about Jason Jordan and whether or not his singles push is going to lead him to be a heel rather than a babyface. Well, we've been planning on talking about this for this episode anyways because it looks like there is a good possibility that will happen, that Jason Jordan may be turned heel. Now, the part of the reason for that is the WWE Universe has not bought into the storyline as of right now. This is my long-lost illegitimate child has not taken off with WWE fans. So we're looking at a situation where they've got to recover some way. It's to the point where they actually believe that the fans don't even care about the actual angle, which is a huge problem. You don't want that ever. You want the fans at least engaged even in a negative way because it actually brings in a better audience. So we're going to have to see how they proceed with that. But it looks like Jason Jordan may be in a situation where they'll turn him heel, potentially as a way for him to flip on Kurt Angle and break up that storyline. Either call it a hoax all along, he was using Angle to further his career, something of that nature, and I actually think that would be a good thing for Jason Jordan. Big clothesline there. For those who've never been to an independent show, the sound and acoustics in an independent show so much better than being in a 30,000-seat arena when you can't hear anything. Sometimes those arenas are like a vacuum. This, you can hear every hit. Every time a guy punches a guy, you can hear it. Every kick, you can feel. Every time they take a bump, you feel the whole floor shake. It's a beautiful thing. Also news this week, Vince McMahon, his reaction to Nakamura's exploder suplex on John Cena last week on SmackDown Apparently there was some backstage heat, not with Nakamura as a particular talent, but you can't get away with too many of these botched moves. Vince McMahon has a long memory, and Vince McMahon was more concerned about the health of John Cena, the face of the company, for the better part of the last 12 years. It'll be interesting to see how they book that exploder suplex in the future if Nakamura and Cena, or people of the same size as Cena, end up in the ring together with Nakamura in the future. I want to talk a little bit about Jon Jones. Jon Jones is teasing an appearance at SummerSlam, which would only be a good thing if he's going to tie into a future UFC fight and give some fuel to the fire for his match, potentially in the future in the Octagon with Brock Lesnar. If Dana White is not willing to get that match booked and signed because of Lesnar's suspension or whatever the situation is, I don't see that being a problem for Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon will negotiate with anybody if it means dollar signs, and I think Jon Jones versus Brock Lesnar, whether it's in WWE or in UFC, is money and has money written all over. Also in the news this week, NXT Insider, one of their programs on the WWE Network, we've been hearing this a lot lately, NXT Insider is now canceled. We started with Talking Smack and Raw Talk, and now it's to a situation where NXT Insider has big sidewalk slam. Oh, and I was wrong. Mike Goldstein picking up a win. Very cool end of the match. That was an incredible twisting backbreaker. I've never seen that before. Very cool move. All right, so we're back. We have match number 3. We have G. Vader, who is from Puerto Rico, taking on Tommy Osborne. These are some younger guys. Tommy Osborne, more of a cruiserweight. G. Vader, a little bit bigger, probably 205 live, maybe a hair over. But solid performers either way. I've seen Tommy Osborne several times at various shows for Worldwide Wrestling Alliance. G. Vader making his return to the promotion tonight. If you've never seen him in the independent scene in Pennsylvania, check him out. If you can pop onto YouTube, I'm sure you can find him there. I'm going to get back to some of the news for the week. We've got Goldust. He's been off TV other than these vignettes lately. They kind of felt like that the feud with R-Truth was a complete flop, and now it looks like they may be transitioning Goldust into somewhat of a managerial role and be lining him up to work with someone else, who we do not know yet, but apparently it will be revealed shortly, potentially at SummerSlam. It'll be curious to see what they do with him. I think Dustin Rhodes, much like his father, has a very creative mind. I think you have to have pulled off the Goldust character the way he has for all these years, but definitely something to keep an eye on to see what they do going forward with Goldust. All right, so now it looks like the next match on the card, G. Vader versus Tommy Osborne, has been made into a triple threat, including Ty Reno. There was a little bit of a surprise for the fans here. It was actually kind of cool. I got a chance to talk to Ty Reno before the show went live. He was a little concerned. He had no opponent for the evening. He was scheduled to take on King Kalua, a long-time wrestling personality on the independent Pennsylvania scene. And Kalua is not here this evening. He's having some difficulties. So instead, we've got Ty Reno being a part of this match out there right now. Very cool wrestler. If you haven't seen this guy, he wrestles all up and down the East Coast. He's one half of the Delaware Wrestling Association Tag Team Champions as a member of the Gunners. He was out earlier with his tag team partner, King Blackie. They are so funny, so personable. Check them out if you get a chance. Go online. YouTube has got all these guys. If you think you have to be a major performer to have a spot on YouTube, you could not be more wrong. These guys are all on YouTube. Check them out. If you do a Google search for Ty Blackie, the Gunners, Ty Reno, any of these talents, G. Vader, G-E-E Vader, either way, you can see some great action from these guys. In the news this week also, Stone Cold Steve Austin's Broken Skull Challenge has been renewed for a 4th season. If you have never seen it, it's groups of 16 individuals, either 16 guys, 16 girls. They come together and they perform different challenges, eliminating the field, going tournament style, getting down to the end where one person gets to challenge the Skull Buster, which is an insanely difficult obstacle course. Oh my gosh, huge suplex. This venue does not have a very high ceiling, so it's impressive whenever these guys can hit some of those high-impact moves in such limited space. If you get an opportunity to shoot over to one of their shows at the Quakertown Farmers Market, there they have much better facilities as far as height, and they get to do some really cool high-flying stuff, but to see that stuff pulled off here, I mean, if you could be here and see what I'm seeing, the venue, the ceiling is not very tall, so to see high-impact stuff is really cool here. But yeah, the Broken Skull Challenge, if you've never seen it, check it out. CMT is the network, coming back for Season 4. If you haven't seen it before, it's a very cool show. This week in the news, the other topic of big buzz was the Young Bucks putting out a montage of pictures, advertising things like that, for their upcoming pay-per-view, where they were teasing CM Punk joining the Bullet Club. So they had a whole CM Punk themed Bullet Club logo that they published online. It got everybody talking, and we've seen no response from Punk on Twitter. You would think by now that Punk would have said something, at least giving him a thank you for the heads up or keeping him relevant or whatever. But instead, we've heard nothing from Punk, which only fuels people wondering whether or not we're going to see CM Punk show up at their Best in the World pay-per-view. So keep an eye on that. Those diehard CM Punk fans that are dying to see him come back to wrestling, that might be your best opportunity. Also in the news this week are Jimmy Hart and Jerry the King Lawler talking about the potential return of Hulk Hogan to World Wrestling Entertainment, both having the opinion that it is pretty much in Hulk Hogan's corner. He has to make the decision he wants to return. I think enough time has passed. People have gotten past the issues that they had previously, and I don't think that the WWE publicly traded thing really factors into it at this point. It's been a very long time. We've seen professional athletes in all major sports do significantly worse things than what Hulk Hogan did and come back to their sport. So I think it's a matter of time, but it's also something Hulk Hogan has to want to do. Wow, if you couldn't hear that, that was a chop. And that was really loud in this little tiny venue. Oh my gosh, he almost body slammed that guy. We have no padding here. There's nothing. We'll have to keep our eyes out, see what happens with Hulk Hogan. I would say if he doesn't come back by WrestleMania next year, I think it's a done deal. I don't see any reason for him to come back if he doesn't make it back by Mania. But you just never know with Hulk Hogan. Per Fightful.com, a website that does all sorts of news and rumors, they are saying that Ronda Rousey is potentially training with Brian Kendrick already to make a professional wrestling appearance, to make some sort of transition into professional wrestling. We'll have to keep our eyes on that, but you know as well as I do, Triple H was out this week. He did a podcast where he spoke about it. Oh my gosh, huge chop to the chest. You know, he was out and he was speaking very candidly about Ronda Rousey. If she wants to make it happen, he will go out of his way to make sure that happens. She's that important. I think she could really lend the kind of credibility to the women's division that people have been looking for. And I think that WWE going after her hardcore is probably in the best interest of Ronda Rousey. Also in the news this week, Dolph Ziggler. Where has he been? He hasn't been on television for several weeks. The rumor is now that Dolph Ziggler is in the process of being repackaged. I don't really know how you repackage somebody as established as Dolph Ziggler, but in some way, shape, or form you have to do that because his character itself has gotten relatively stale. So at this point, we're hoping that they bring him back to television sooner than later because we want to see him in the ring, but we want to see him doing something of more substance, that's meaningful, something that actually matters. And right now, we don't have that. You know, fans who always wanted to see Dolph Ziggler get that long championship run, it hasn't happened, and I don't see it happening anytime soon. Oh, there's the win. G. Vader picks up the win. You cannot truly understand the excitement of an independent show unless you come to a place like this. That was a very cool moment right there. I haven't broadcast a whole lot during the entrances and everything else, but this is the one match on the card I'm very much looking forward to. This match is for the High Impact Championship of Worldwide Wrestling Alliance, and it is going to feature the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance High Impact Champion, Leo Sweet, taking on Joe O'Connor. Leo Sweet is one of the best talents I've seen at an independent show in years. He's fantastic. He would be a great addition to the 205 Live roster. He's somebody that should be on the radar of places like Ring of Honor, of places like Impact Wrestling, Lucha Underground, and the like. Unfortunately, the WWE and places like that, New Japan, don't seem to get a chance to see these smaller venues as much as places like Evolve, Progress, places like that. It would be nice to see some of these guys get a chance, and I would love to see that start with Leo Sweet. Leo Sweet's about to make his way to the ring. He is fantastic. He has got probably the biggest following here of all the wrestlers. Everybody loves seeing the guy. Coming coming out to Dirty Diana. He's got the white glove and all with his High Impact Championship belt. As you look around the venue tonight, you see probably in the neighborhood of around 150 to 200 people here tonight. Not the biggest crowd in the world, but then again, we're in a very small venue, but they're really doing a great job of packing this arena. So, you know, if you get a chance to come out to one of these smaller shows, you really get to interact personally with the talents, and it's a lot of fun. It's something you don't get when you go to a WWE show. You don't get to see stuff like I'm looking at right now. Leo Sweet standing up on the second turnbuckle, and he has to duck because his head's going to hit the drop ceiling. But you know what? It's not going to stop him from putting on a phenomenal performance, handing over his championship belt right now to the referee. And here come the intros. Joe Connor's challenging for that championship.
90 pounds from Rochester, New York, O'Connor. His opponent, weighing 155 pounds, from Sweet Street, Hollywood, California.
Sweet Street, Hollywood, California.
Triple WA High Impact Champion, the King Sweet, Leo Sweet.
If you got to see this guy perform, he is fantastic. He's one of the few who actually, like, you know how like you watch a wrestler and they just have a certain swagger about them. He looks like a pro wrestler. He acts like a pro wrestler. He's not some just random independent guy who doesn't know how to perform. He's really, really solid. Watching matches like this is what's hard because you see these guys who you just want them to get a break. You want them to get an opportunity. And unfortunately, historically, these smaller venues, it's a lot harder to get somebody that break. Also in the news this week, the biggest news, at least from my perspective of the week, is the New Japan G1 Climax has come to an end, at least as far as the block bracketing is concerned. Block A completed 2 nights ago, where Tetsuya Naito, as predicted by myself, defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi in the final match of that card to move on to the G1 Climax final. He will take on the winner from Block 2, winning his match. Kenny Omega defeating Kazuchika Okada in their 3rd matchup. 30-minute time limit. He defeats Okada. Omega will take on Naito in the final. I have predicted that as well. I still think Naito takes the win in the G1 Climax final unless the New Japan Board of Directors wants to see a 4th match with Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada. I don't see that. I think there's more to be done with Okada taking on Naito and Kenny Omega going against Cody for that IWGP United States Championship, but we'll have to see how that plays out. And now Tanahashi, still the IWGP Intercontinental Champion, it offers them 3 championship opportunities at the Wrestle Kingdom pay-per-view rather than pigeonholing 2 champions into 1 match and limiting your booking potential. Also in the news this week, Heath Slater has teamed up with former female star Jazz. Whoa, big suplex. Heath Slater has teamed up with former female star Jazz, Mr. Hughes, Teddy Long, and Ron Simmons to launch his own wrestling school down in Atlanta, Georgia. Check it out and do a Google search for Heath Slater's Wrestling School and you will find it. Interesting opportunity to work with some of the legends of the past. I love to see the fact that Ron Simmons, Teddy Long, Mr. Hughes, people like that, and Jazz, giving the benefit of their experience to a new crop of talent while Heath Slater, still an active wrestler, but as you and I both know, Heath Slater not being used in a very productive way, even though he probably is a lot better than he's being booked. So this is a way for him to supplement his wrestling career by offering a new training venue for new up-and-coming talents. Trevor Lee, Impact Wrestling star, trash-talking the 205 Live product, talking about how it's complete garbage this week in a conference call with Impact Wrestling. Low-key, not quite as aggressive. Low-key talking about how the X Division in Impact Wrestling really set the tone, not just for 205 Live, but for wrestling all over the world. The styles have changed, and that was their purpose, was to showcase a different kind of wrestling style, and they've done that. Interesting to see, though, that they are obviously paying attention to the brand. Low-key even mentioned that several former X Division stars are members of the 205 roster. This match is really crazy. all kinds of high-flying stuff going on right now. However, they are not allowed the same creative freedom that they had in Impact Wrestling to really showcase that high-flying style the way they did when they were in the X Division. So, great to hear a professional in the business perspective from people wrestling in a very similar division and getting their feedback on the 205 Live roster. Myself, you cannot convince me that if given the right amount of screen time and the right latitude to do what they need to do in the ring, that the 205 Live roster couldn't be putting on significantly better programming, even sometimes than the main roster. Hopefully WWE figures that out and allows them more time. And the last tidbit of news for this week, Josh Brettel, also known as Bronson Matthews, former Tough Enough winner. People have been asking where he's been. He's been off television for 13 months, and that's because he's got post-concussion syndrome, and it's not something that WWE will take lightly. This is why Daniel Bryan cannot get back in the ring, is because of concussions. And it looks like, Josh Brettel, he's trying very hard to get back. If anybody doesn't remember who he is, he's the guy who used to grunt and groan like a Yeti. Hopefully he can get back in the ring. I thought he had the right look, and I thought he really could have a bright future. But unfortunately, the concussions have really become pretty much a roadblock to the rest of his career. We're going to get back to this Worldwide Wrestling Alliance. They've got a great show going on. This match is out of this world. There's a great high-flying move from Leo Sweet. I'm wondering if this is the pin right here. 2. No, he kicked out. This is a great match. If you are in the Gilbertsville, Pennsylvania area, shoot over to the arena. Check this out. Worldwide Wrestling Alliance, the second Saturday every month at Zerns Farmers Market in Gilbertsville, or the fourth Saturday every month at the Quakertown Farmers Market just off of Route 309 in Pennsylvania. As is always the case, as we go through the show, feel free to call into the Pro Wrestling Sound-Off line at 267-642-1160. Give us your questions and your comments, anything you want to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. We love to make you guys a part of the show as often as we can, and we'll try to get to as many of your comments as we can throughout the show. This show, very unique. We're at the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance in Gilbertsville, Pennsylvania. We're doing this episode trying to incorporate our normal segments of the show, but also trying to pay the respect to this fantastic product. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. That was like a combination of a spine buster turned into like a Pearl River plunge. Leo Sweet retains his High Impact Championship.
High Impact Champion, the King of Sweet, Leo Sweet.
Unbelievable. What a great match. It's now time for Ace Dallas. This guy's awesome.
Important message this evening as I'm about to wrestle a 350-pound beast is that the number one sin in this world, and the lesson tonight is that gluttony is frowned upon in the praise me practice. And in all honesty, Wizard, this is the sin that a bunch of these idiots here in Gilbertsville have abided by through their lives. And tonight, when I pin Vicious Sam Valley in the center of this ring in front of all of you ungrateful sinners, all of you will have no choice but to get on your knees and praise me!
Wow, I got nothing. We're back with the main event, Molson challenging for the Triple WA World Heavyweight Championship, taking on Ken Andrews, who, if you have never seen Ken Andrews, he is thoroughly entertaining. He plays the great heel, wrestles barefoot. It's almost like a throwback to the Von Erich family. Molson, also a heel. It's a bizarre main event. Ken Andrews attacked Molson at the onset of the show. It's led to this match here. Molson, a big 300-pounder, good 6'3", 6'4", taking on Ken Andrews. Which, if you told me you were going to see Ken Andrews on WWE programming tomorrow, I'd believe you. He's got that look. He's got that feel. His ring set, his moveset is fantastic. He's actually very, very talented. So this should be a great match for the Triple WA World Heavyweight Championship. That's a wrap for this show. Coming off his successful defense, we'll see Ken Andrews take on Leo Sweet, the High Impact Champion, taking on the Heavyweight Champion at the August 26th Quakertown Farmers Market show. Be there.